Item number 1, recommend resolution to initiate the conflict resolution procedures with the City of Gulf Breeze regarding performance of conditions required for conditional use 2012-CU-017, allowing expansion of wastewater treatment facility in residential district. We had a lengthy discussion about this on Monday. Any questions or comments from the board? Commissioner Rob Williamson.
Just a suggestion, I guess, or a question. Do we know who is going to be representing the county on the staff level, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Andrews, you want to address that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Williamson, the resolution initiates the conflict resolution procedure. Going forward with that, within 5 days, the county is supposed to send a certified letter to the other local government that would suggest the members of the board or members of the staff level meeting that is supposed to be scheduled to occur within 30 days thereafter. So I would like to have some input from the board as to who that would be. And it is a sunshine meeting, so it certainly can be staff members, it can be commission members, and it can be more than one commissioner because it is advertised as a sunshine meeting, and there can be more than one commissioner present if it was so desired. So,
thank you. I didn't know what the will of the chairman was. Obviously, this is your backyard, and you've been immersed in this from the beginning, so I don't know what your thoughts are on it. If that means that you would prefer to sit on it or if you would prefer not to, but I definitely thought it was important that if you felt comfortable weighing in on that. And I do think that it would be good for this board to provide some direction to staff as to what your guidance would be, since it's your district on this issue, and you were the one that brought it to us.
Thank you, Commissioner Williamson. And Roy and Hunter and I kind of talked about, it would be our county administrator, our county attorney, and myself from the county's perspective at this initial meeting.
Thank you. And I don't know what the will of the other commissioners is, but I think that's an excellent choice. This may be my only opportunity to provide some suggestions ahead of that meeting, so I just wanted to throw something out. First of all, I commend you on making this recommendation because it still provides the opportunity for conversation, and it provides an opportunity to try to find a positive way forward that's in the best interest of all the stakeholders, the city, the ratepayers, the county. So I think that's an excellent move, and you did a great job of laying out the history of what got us to where we are, and hopefully that'll be a nice launching pad to move us forward. In looking at the 15 items that were promised in the original proposal, a suggestion that I would offer is that there probably could be a dollar amount associated with a great number of those. And in my mind, when you start talking about honoring a deal or promises made, one way to do that may not be fixated so much on we've got to build an 18-hole west golf course. There may be things that would satisfy the homeowners in that area, the ratepayers, and yourself and the board that wouldn't necessarily have it be that or nothing. So, for example, let's say that initially they were thinking about $1.5 million to redesign the West Golf Course, and then there's other things on that list that perhaps a dollar amount could be associated to or associated with, to where really that the council, when they agreed to those proposals, they were agreeing, in my mind, to allocate a certain sum of money toward the fulfilling of those promises. There was a dollar amount associated with those promises. I think it might be an idea to look at that. And then, have they applied anything already that maybe weren't part of those promises, and do we think it's fair or appropriate to give any credit for what they've spent? Mr. Eddy mentioned the last time I was here, over $2 million that they've spent on termites or on bathrooms or other things. I apologize, I don't remember all of what was thrown out there, but You know, if they've spent if they promised 4 million, and those 15 things add up to 4 million, and they've spent 2, and we want to give them credit for $1.5 million, I don't know. That's where you were going to be in the room to do those negotiations. But in my mind, that would maybe provide a framework for the perfect compromise where everybody leaves not getting everything they wanted. My only fear and my main concern would be that we end up with a plant on Berggren. I feel strongly that that would not be in the best interest of Santa Rosa County. But everything else I think is on the table. And when I look at the conditional use, I'm not sure I don't know what the will of the board would have been if the city of Gulf Breeze had to come to the Board of County Commissioners and not offered anything, none of those 15 proposals, and it had just said, we would like a conditional use to expand our existing operations. I don't know if the commission would have denied that or if they would have approved it or something in between. But we are where we are now, and that would be my only suggestion, that maybe you look at what they de facto agreed to spend by saying they were going to do those 15 items, what they've applied, and see if there can be a happy medium in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Williamson. Anyone else? Commissioner Cole?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And what I took away from the meeting the other day was, I forget who mentioned it, was the possibility of maybe not building the other 9 holes or 18 holes on the west side as was stated originally because of the economics of it. But if another amenity could be added to that golf course to offer members and citizens out there other possibilities, and I'm just going to use examples: tennis courts, jogging paths, something that would be an added value to that course and to the people in that area, that you know, if you felt that was, if you were comfortable with that, then I would certainly be able to support that. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Cole. Anyone else? Anyone from the public wish to address the board? No? Okay.
Buzz Eddy with the City of Gulf Breeze. I don't know if it would do any good to ask you to consider tabling this resolution until the mayor has an opportunity to meet with the vice chairman and kind of talk these things out. This conflict resolution process is very formal. It's rather staid. There's dictates as to what you have to follow, and I don't know, an informal meeting between the two of you might be better. He expresses extreme regret for not being able to be here. He had a long planned vacation and a cruise, so that couldn't be changed, and he apologizes for that. And you know, there might be an opportunity for you all to get together before this very formal process gets instituted. But I would like to echo things that the commissioners have said, that when the City Council made the decision to purchase the Tiger Point facility, it was done under duress and extreme time duress. City Council went through with, on behalf of the ratepayers, buying the golf course because it was going to go into receivership and everything would have closed. We asked for an opportunity to expand the treatment plant on the southwest corner, which makes tremendous sense for all the ratepayers. We went through this on Monday. After the purchase, $2 million, over $2 million was spent on things that we did not anticipate. All the lawn mowing equipment had been milked to death by the previous owners. We didn't have an opportunity to evaluate that beforehand. Had to buy $750,000 worth of new lawn mowing equipment. Found out the building was infested with termites. The clubhouse building was infested with termites. The roof leaked, the windows leaked. Anyway, $2 million were spent that we had to put that burden on the ratepayer. We don't have any money unless it comes from the ratepayers. So as we work our way through this, I hope the door is open to recognize some of those previous expenditures, to recognize the fact that it doesn't make sense to build 18 holes of golf on the west side right now. It may make sense in a few years as we do a better job marketing and get people out to the East Course. I think that there are other amenities that we should have already added. we should have been a little more glasses half empty when we were up here in December of 2012. We were excited about being in the golf business. We were excited about buying the golf course and keeping it open. And we should have tempered that excitement a little bit with a little more reality, but we didn't. We said we were going to build the West Course. Doesn't make sense to build it right now without a better attention being paid to the East Course and getting it up above 37,000 rounds of golf per year. Once we get to that point, we'll evaluate that. We will work with you on some amenities around the golf course to make it look better around the West Course. But I would ask you to hold off on the resolution, table it until the mayor and you have an opportunity to get together. And let's try to work this out without this formal process.
And I appreciate that, Mr. Eddy. My only issue there, we've had a couple of meetings, you and I, and I've met with the mayor once before. I think, given what has transpired to date, I would prefer everything be done in a public forum. I don't know that I'm necessarily precluded from talking with the mayor or Mr. Eddy or anyone else prior to the public meeting.
It would not be a sunshine violation for you to do that.
Yeah, so,
Mr.
so we can speak, but I would just prefer everything to be out in the public. That way, hopefully there will be no miscommunication or any confusion in terms of what has been discussed. Commissioner Cole?
Mr. Chairman, I'm just want to be cautious on that. I know Mr. Andrews just said that he didn't see a problem with you speaking with the mayor. However, the mayor sits on the TPO, as do we. I just, you know how sunshine law works today, so I just be cautious on that.
It's pretty broadly construed, but I don't think that the issues that were being discussed here would be brought before the TPO.
Don Richards, 1129 Park Lane, Gulf Breeze. Gentlemen, we went through the discussion on Monday, and we've had a lot of interaction with the city. As a representative of United Peninsula Association that represents some 46 different HOAs and numerous businesses on the south end, I can assure you that I have had probably 100 emails for what we are trying to do to move forward and hold the city of Gulf Breeze accountable versus two that I would get that says, be careful, they might back out of the whole deal and we might not have a golf course at all. And I believe that the discussions need to be held in public and that we need to have UPA as a part of that discussion that goes on, because they are and carry a lot of influence on the south end in terms of communication, in terms of education for the people that are around and adjacent to the golf course. Excuse me. So I would encourage you to move forward with it. We absolutely want to keep an open door to the city. Buzz and I shook hands when we came in, so that's a very positive thing. And we're going to continue to talk back and forth. And I want to go back to exactly what they said to begin with, and that is that we want to be a true partner for even outside the city of Gulf Breeze. And if we do that, then I think the peninsula and the county as a whole is going to be better off than if we try to see what can we get by with. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. Commissioner Rob Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's not a bad suggestion for the tabling, but this has been going on for a couple of years, and I agree that it's definitely time to add a process that would be out in the open. Not that anything has been done that's secretive, but it just gives everybody an opportunity to know, what's going on. I would ask, though, once this process has begun, let's say that between now and the start of this process, that Chairman Blanchard and Mayor Danheiser have a meeting and it is for whatever reason, you know, it maybe hasn't been as productive as they would have both liked in the past, but maybe some watershed moment happens and they work out a deal that everybody can live with. Can we unwind this without board approval? You know, what would be the process?
The initial meeting, the conflict assessment phase, is a public meeting between the parties, and if the tentative resolution to the conflict can be agreed upon by the representatives of conflicting governmental entities, the government may proceed with whatever steps they deem necessary to fully resolve the conflict, including so yes.
Okay, Buzz, how many ratepayers do you have? 6,000. 6,000. So those are 6,000 Santa Rosa County residents or business owners. So will you and the county administrator and Chairman Lynchard be making decisions and negotiating on behalf of this board in Santa Rosa County? Or will whatever is decided upon in these meetings ultimately have to come back for this board for board approval?
Yes, it always has to come back to the board for approval. I mean,
Felt that the
with
question was important to ask
negotiating-
on the record, just to make sure everybody understands that. Because this is not only a District 5 issue. When you start talking about 6,000 Santa Rosa County residents, this is a Santa Rosa County issue. Complete confidence in Lane.
Household, it's probably 10,000 people, 15,000 people.
There you go. So for the record, that was just stated that, you know, you're talking 6,000 households. So you could be looking at 12 to 15,000 Santa Rosa County residents that are impacted.
Whatever tentative resolution was, if it was agreed to, would come back to this board for approval. If there's no tentative resolution, then there is a joint scheduled public hearing or meeting between both of the Board of County Commissioners and the City Council of the City of Gulf Breeze.
Okay.
As a joint meeting, so that it's again discussed and a resolution is attempted at that time.
Okay, final
Failing in
question.
that,
What's the
it goes-
timeline look like for this? You know, after we leave today's meeting, we vote to approve this measure. What happens next?
The letter has to be sent within 5 days. The staff level meeting has to be scheduled to occur within 30 days. The joint meeting, if the staff level or the tentative meeting does not resolve, it has to be held within 50 days. That's statutory.
Lastly, if I could, since a meeting location hasn't been recommended, perhaps the chairman, in the spirit of cooperation, would like to have the first meeting in their home court. But I'll let you guys hack that out.
Commissioner Williams, Mr. Andrews has started working on the letter. We were going to propose a meeting at the Tiger Point Community Center, right in the middle of things, a couple of miles from the treatment plant, right in the heart of the golf course there. And either the morning of the 13th or sometime on the 15th of July. That would put us well within our time frame.
Those two dates might not work for me, maybe the week after that.
Okay, so we'll schedule it sometime before obviously within the 30 days allowed by the statute, and get with the city, make sure that those dates work for them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner J.R. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for the record, I wanted to say that I do support us going ahead with this process, and I think it needs to be vetted and discussed in the public eye with public comment as much as we can get, which will ultimately come to the best resolution if the public has the most say in it. And I know that you'll do a fine job representing. This is, you know, dear to your heart, and it's also right there in your backyard, so you know this as good as anybody, and know that you'll do us well on the board, and look forward to seeing what kind of resolution we come to. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, anyone else?
Actually, the 15th probably would work for me.
Okay, thank you.
I think so, 15th or the 16th.
I appreciate the opportunity to just interact with y'all and talk to you about this. I feel like I'm responsible for getting us in this, a little bit for getting us in this situation. What is the, kind of the outcome if if we're not able to get any sort of resolution? We have to operate a utility. You have to pay attention to the needs of UPA, and you know, we try to run the utility the best, most efficient, effective way possible. What happens if they're just come through the process and there is no agreement?
The conflict resolution process goes through the joint public meeting. In the event that it's not resolved through there's a mediation timeframe. If it's not resolved by mediation, then the statute says that any appropriate legal remedies apply. So,
At the root of this is a conditional use permit.
right.
If there is no resolution, is that revoked? Or is that one of the possible outcomes?
That would be correct.
That's what I thought.
Thank you, Buzz. All right, anyone else? All right, then I will move approval of the resolution and the transmittal of it to the City of Gulf Breeze without objection. Hearing none, that is approved. It's now item 9, recommend waiver of Navarre Beach fishing pier fee for children under the age of 12 and $1 entrance fee waiver for one parent on Saturday, October 3rd, 2015 for the annual Kids Fish Free event as part of Beaches to Woodlands Tour. I'll recommend approval without objection. Hearing none, that is approved. And the pier will be full of kids on that day, if history is any guide.
Second item was added by Commissioner Rob Williamson today, and we all had plenty of emails about our seabirds, so Mr. Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to just pass it on down to our Public Works Director, Stephen Furman. And if you would, just touch on a little bit. I just wanted to get on the record this morning to make sure there's clear communication. We are aware of the issue and that you have mobilized, and kind of give folks a status update if you wouldn't mind. I had the opportunity to go down there with the kids a couple nights ago, and I was pretty surprised at the number of birds that are flying across that little stretch of roadway there. And I had a couple almost hit my truck, and I was doing 15 miles an hour. So it's definitely something that's an issue, and folks parking on the side of the road would just exacerbate it. So give us an update if you wouldn't mind, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Williamson. We also have been seeing the emails proclaiming the problem, and we were in correspondence with Mr. Walker yesterday to gain permission for us to go down and barricade off, as requested in some of the emails, the critical areas that are being used by the birds for nesting. We sent a crew down this morning to place barricades and signage, keeping people out. They have met with Ms. Carolyn Strahola with the Audubon Society, and they're going to run ribbon between the barricades, creating a de facto temporary no parking area along that critical area of the Causeway. We're talking about, I think, around 100 feet of area that would just not have parking. And we understand that parking is critical, especially with 4th of July weekend coming up. But this smaller area, 100 feet or so, would be about 5 cars being displaced, and we feel that the environmental benefit far outweighs the inconvenience that would be caused to about 5 people parking their cars. So that work has been completed. I spoke with my technician just a few moments ago, and that work has been done. The area has been blocked off.
Thank you. The military is obviously important to us, but our environment in our natural resources and our friends from the environment are obviously very important to our community as well. We had a lot of response from this, so it's great to know that we're doing everything we can to protect these birds that call this area home. So thank you very much for responding so quickly, for communicating throughout the process. Well done. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that no action, we've already heard the action, so there won't be anything on item number 2, and that concludes Public Works.